In this video, I am going to talk about the science behind mindfulness. And if you go and research about the scientific papers that have been published regarding mindfulness, they have been steadily increasing year over year. So if I had to just talk about three important facts related to the science of mindfulness, the first one and the most important one will be related to the fact that a human brain is plastic. Now, what I mean by that is it is a false notion that the human brain stops growing after a certain age. The reality is that even at 65 years of age, your brain is still growing and adapting by creating new neurons. And let me give you an example of that. When we were in our childhood, when the screens such as mobile phones and laptops were not that prevalent, our habit was to have food and just that. While having lunch or dinner, there were no other activities involved while having food. But now, you will most often find yourself and even others having a phone in one hand or screens in front of them while having food. Now, what this change in the habit does is that it alters the pathway in your brain. So the next time when you are having food, your brain will immediately tell you the need of having that screen in front of you, of consuming more than just food. So this is how your habit is changing how your brain behaves. So that's the most important thing to understand. Now, related to that, I want to talk about a very important part of your brain, which was developed about 200 million years ago, which is called as the amygdala. The amygdala is responsible for the fight and flight part of your response. That is, it controls your fear and aggression. And let me tell you a very fun fact. We are all progenies of our ancestors who had very strong amygdala. Why? Because imagine you are in a hunter-gatherer society. Only if you have very strong amygdala, you are always in your surroundings, you are always on the lookout for predators so that you don't get killed, right? That's the function of this amygdala. And only if you don't get killed, you will survive and have progenies. So generation after generation, we have passed on very strong amygdalas to the next generation. So that's why even today, even in the absence of the predators and tigers around you, your amygdala, the fight and flight, the fear and aggression part of your brain is still very strong. And why am I talking about this? Because scientific papers have been published on how mindfulness reduces the density as well as the volume of this fight and flight part of your brain. It calms down the amygdala. Finally, I'm going to talk about the most recent developed part of your brain, which is called as the neocortex and also the prefrontal cortex. So the prefrontal cortex is responsible for the executive functioning in your brain. What do I mean by executive functioning? Such as self-control, impulse control. When you're in office or in school or with some relative and you feel inside that you want to give it back to them, tell them the truth, but you control your impulses because it will have consequences down the line. So that part, that behavior is controlled by prefrontal cortex. So all the emotional regulation, all the self-regulation becomes a part of it. Now, studies have shown that practicing mindfulness for at least 8 weeks changes the density of prefrontal cortex. It increases the density and increases the volume of prefrontal cortex so that your executive functioning becomes better. Your focus becomes better, which is a part of PFC. So this is a nutshell of what is the science behind mindfulness. Primarily, it is related to changing your brain, and the key word for it is neuroplasticity. Your brain is always plastic. So if you think you can improve your brain by attention and awareness, do check out mindfulness and hope this video helps.